Hello, everybody. Welcome to Monique's Nail Station. Today we are matching my daughter's art. It's Friday today, so happy that it's soon the weekend. So today we are going to be looking at module 6 of our acrylic nail system training course. And we are going to be looking at 4 keys to successfully finishing off your work. I've also done a PowerPoint presentation again for you. So if you like this content and you wanted to carry on, hit that subscription button, like and subscribe, and you will get a new module every single week. All right, so without further ado, let's get going. Let me have a look here. I want to just move me across. Okay, let's look at our first PowerPoint presentation. Oh, let's see. Okay, we need to make me a bit smaller. Let me make me smaller. Oh, well, we're going bigger. Okay, bigger. All right, let's see. This mouse is not working so nice today. I think it's the cold and my hands are freezing. So let's just see. Okay, there we go. Okay, so this is very, very important. So remember, we want the 4 keys to success in finishing off your acrylic application. So it's the attention to detail that's going to make you stand out from the rest. Um, Not only that, it's also about being accurate and getting good habits from day one. So you need to get good habits from day one, and make sure that you stick to all the steps and you don't shortcut anything. All right. And then the most important thing is practice, practice, practice makes perfect. Okay. So in this PowerPoint, I'm explaining that you must sculpt with your brush and not your file, because you will land up giving yourself too much work. And that's how we started out. We started out building huge mountains, and it was a much harder acrylic. It wasn't formulated like it is today. And we used to have to file for days once we had built these big mountains. And also, when you are using a coarse grit file on a newly applied product, you're actually creating microscopic cracks in that product that can then crack down the line. So it's important what file you use. All right, so let's just go through this presentation. All right, begin with a well-constructed thin enhancement by applying product in small controlled beads, zone by zone. And that is really, really important, that you can add more little zones, rather go work accurately, and especially when you're learning, and you need to be able to control and master your product. All right, then it's very important to use the correct mix ratio for the desired monomer. So remember, I showed you how to, and I hope you guys have been practicing that, working on forms, controlling those beads. All right, and then always looking at those beads, you can tell straight away whether it's completely saturated. If it's not completely saturated, it's too dry. If it's too saturated, it'll be too runny, difficult to control. All right, and you want a strong enhancement. All right, let's see the next thing. Take more time during your application to save time during your finishing off of your product. So if you're going to apply the product accurately, you literally have less work to do to finish off the nail, and that will save you a lot of time. All right. It's also important to hold your brush at an angle, all right, to be parallel to the working area, which I'm going to show you in the demo. Um, it's probably easier to show you in the demo. Okay. So you're going to hold your brush at an angle, all right, parallel to the working zone. So when you watch me doing the demo, please observe how I'm using my hands. see how I'm placing my hands, how I'm using them. This will give you an idea of how you are to use your brush and your tools. All right. You need to turn your brush at an angle towards the side walls to taper in the area thinly. And I'll do a demonstration after this PowerPoint, after this one here. Where applying beads in zone 3, your brush handle would be up and the tip of the brush would be angled downwards. So in other words, you're going to be angling because you're going to go into zone 3 and you don't want to flood the cuticle area. So you're going to be angling your brush up and you are going to use the tip of your brush just to make sure that you don't go into that cuticle area at all. So when applying product, don't overwork. So a lot of people tend to wipe the product off, put back on, and it just becomes, a tedious exercise. So just make sure that you don't overwork your beads. So that feathering technique that I showed you, keep trying that, practice that, all right? Leave the product alone, let it do its thing, all right? And just make sure you control that while it's setting, that it dries in the right sort of area. Remember to leave a tiny free margin around the sidewalls and the cuticle area to prevent lifting and overexposure. All right, so let's have a look at the demo. So let's see here. I'm just going to prepare this here. This is our little training hand. Oops, and it's upside down. So let me do that. I also want to put on an extra light, autofocus. So here you can see we're going to use this nail training hand, which is great for practicing. All right. So I suggest in buying one. I think I got mine from iSpa, if I'm not mistaken. And basically it looks like this. A finger with, you get three fingers, and you get a whole lot of tips to work on. And you see that? You get a whole lot of tips to work on. All right. So a very nice little toy to practice on. If you can't always get models, it's not always easy to get models. And I think one needs to perfect your brush stroke and everything beforehand. All right. So we are going to do our demo. So you're going to watch how I use the brush. Let me just turn the finger around. So the first thing we are going to do is, let me just roughen up this nail. Let's roughen it up. Okay, let's have a look. Let's see. So I'm holding the fingernail and we're just going to roughen this plastic tip up so that the product adheres to it. Let me just make sure that we are focused here. So I'm just roughening up the plastic. I would never file the natural nail like this, guys. You never file the natural nail like this. This is just because this is plastic and we want a product to adhere to it. Okay. So let's prepare this nail. I'm going to be using a pH bonder on the nail. So that dehydrates the nail. And we need that to dry, so let that just dry a little bit. So we're going to show you how to sculpt with your brush and not your file, so that there's less work for you to do down the line. Okay, so now that looks like it's dry. Let's put our primer. I'm using a protein bond from Young Nails. So I'm just applying a thin coat. I always kind of cap the free edge as well. Let that dry. The manufacturers do recommend using 2 coats of the protein bond. Today we are going to be using, let me see if you can see the Young Nails Core Powder Pink, French Pink. And let's see, that's dry. Can you see it's almost got like a film to it? It works like a double-sided tape. So I have applied, let me just see here, like this. Okay, so I have put some monomer, which is the Young Nails monomer. Okay, I never mix products, never ever mix products, guys. And then I'm going to be, I've got my little towel here, and I've got my polymer. Let's just do this like this. I don't know if you can see. In a moment, there. Let's just see. Okay, right. Let's see. Let me see if we're all in focus here. Okay, so now I'm going to prepare my brush, and I'm going to fan it in the monomer so that I get rid of all the bubbles that may be in that brush. So we're just conditioning the brush before we start. So can you remember, we've got 3 zones. Zone 1 would be the free edge to where the fingernail and the free edge meets, and that's also your stress area. So those are terminologies used in the nail technology field. Zone 2 will be the base of the nail, where it is the apex as well. And zone 3 will be the cuticle area. So when we are applying with our brush, all right, have a look how I'm holding it. It's almost like a pen sort of way that I'm holding it. All right, you are going to apply the tip like this, and I'm sort of parallel with the brush, and I'm going to apply the tip. Zone 2 will be that line over there. And when you're doing the side walls, you're going to turn your brush to the side. Can you see how I'm turning the brush to the side? And you're going to turn the brush to the side, feather down, turn the brush to the other side, pat, 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 feather down. And when you get to the cuticle area, you're going to use your brush at a 45-degree angle. So I don't know if you can see that. You're going to put the brush, let me see if I do it like this. You're going to put the brush at that angle, so that the end of this brush is in the air, and you're going to put it at an angle and then brush it down. So you're going to be putting it at an angle and brushing it down. Okay, let's see. So let's sculpt with, let me just get this here so you can see properly. Let's sculpt with our brush. All right, let's begin. So now I'm going to pick up a bead for zone 1, which is going to be the tip area. We bounce, bounce, bouncing into the actual powder. I don't know, you can't see that. Just hold on, let me just see. How can I do this? Let me just see here. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. Don't know if you can see. Okay. All right. Is that a bit better? Yeah. Okay, let's start again. I'm just conditioning my brush. Right. And I'm going to go bounce, bounce, bounce. Pick up that bead. Rather use small amounts of beads than big ones to start. So I'm going to drop that bead on the tip of the nail. So we are looking at zone 1. And we are just going to feather that down. So this is when you would, if you're doing a French white, you would be doing your smile line as well. And you know how you would do that smile line is you literally just round it off with the tip of your brush. And I'm literally just tapping that on and feathering the rest out. You don't want to overwork your product, all right? So I'm working small beads. Rather add another zone if you need to. Okay, so that we have zone 1. Now wipe your brush in between. All right, so now we're going to go to zone 2. I'm going to bounce, bounce, bounce. Okay, I'm going to drop that bead exactly where I stopped for the last one. Can you see it's now doing its own little thing? All right, I'm turning my brush to the side and I'm tapping that in and I'm feathering it down to the other side and I'm feathering it down. Can you see that? Turn to the side, feather down. All right, can you see that? So now you can see we're starting to create that apex. All right, if we look at it from the side, you can see that apex is starting to come to appear. Okay, so we're a bit cold today, so I just want to make sure that we don't run anywhere. Okay, so that was zone 2. Now let's do zone 3. Now remember on zone 3, you don't want it too runny because it can flood the cuticles and you're going to get overexposure and you're going to have lifting. So make sure that when you apply your bead, the angle of your brush is going to be very, very important. So if I take my brush and I've got it at a 45-degree angle, I'm going to drop that bead where I left off. And I'm going to use the tip of my brush. Can you see what I'm doing? The tip of my brush just blending that little line, and then I'm just feathering it down. And that is zone 3. Okay, so this is the cuticle here. So let's make as though it wasn't. Let's do another bead there. I'm going to bounce, bounce, bounce. Wait a moment. Bounce, bounce, bounce. Okay. We're going to drop that bead there. Okay. I'm going to use the tip of my brush, feather down, tip of my brush, and you see I let the acrylic do the work for me. Alright, very important so that it does the work for you. There we go. Okay, let's just feather this down a bit more. You can see it hasn't set yet, so. Alright, so can you see if you work in small zones, there's less filing to do. So that's why I'm saying you must sculpt with your brush and not with your file. Look, we've got our apex in. We can actually just get that. Have a look at your work always at all the different angles so that you can see what you're doing. All right, so we're going to need that to file. So there's very little filing that would need to take place here. So always sculpt with your brush and not your file. So now once this dries, and we'll carry on with the rest of the PowerPoint. Once that dries, I will show you how we will finish it off with a file. Let's get back to, oh yeah, and I need to take this light off because it blinds me. Okay, let's see. All right, let's have a look here at our next slide. All right, so this, let's see here. Okay, let's just see something. There we go. We are back. All right, so this was the slide that we did. Sculpt with your brush and not with your file. I just want to move me across. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide, let's see. Okay. Choose quality files. So it's very, very important that you use good quality products because at the end of the day, it's going to last you longer and you're going to the job is going to be much easier and the finished result is going to be much better. So when dealing with files, remember, let me see if I've got some to show you here. So on a natural nail, you would be using a 180 by 240 grit. Okay, the lower the number, the coarser the grit. I don't know if you remember that. So when an unfiled nail has a smooth finish, it is not recommended to use a rough file. The file will ultimately scratch a surface that is already smooth. All right, so you don't want to go and you've now applied your acrylic and all nice and smooth, and now you go and use a rough file. You are going to scratch the surface, and it's going to create little cracks inside as well. 180 grit or higher is recommended to start finishing, especially on freshly applied product. The files that are under 180 grit will cause micro cracks. So, in other words, anything so 180, if you go to anything that's above that, it can cause cracks in the nail. Okay, so always make sure not to create any cracks in the nail. You can use 100 grit when you need to rebalance on older product. When choosing files, the higher the number, the smoother the surface. The larger the number, the smaller the particles, creating a smooth surface. The smaller the grit number, the larger each particle is, creating a rougher surface. To recap, the lower number of the higher or coarser the file is. So the lower the number, 100 grit is a coarse file. 90 would be even coarser. And the higher the number, the smoother the file. So 240 would be higher than a 180. You're getting my drift. Okay. Let's continue then to the next file. The next PowerPoint presentation. Let's have a look what we've planned for you here. Okay. So when choosing files, it's always good to use washable files. So after each client, it's better to use a new set of files with each client. However, I know that it's quite expensive, the files today, and so if you want to save some money and you don't want to have to throw away your files all the time, then buy files that you are washable. And I'll tell you why, because I have a whole lot of different files, and between each client, I would wash my files. So I would take a nail brush and I would put the hygienic hand soap in there, and I would just, don't submerge your files in water and let it soak in water, because that's the wrong thing to do. You literally just want to take a bit of water, rub it like this so that all the fine particles get out of the grit. All right, rinse it and let it dry. That's all you need to do with your files. Very, very important to rather use washable files. If you do find other files, some of them you can even wash, although it doesn't say washable, but I have washed a couple, and they have actually washed quite nicely. All right, and they actually prolong the life of the file as well by washing them and keeping them sterilized. Okay, let's see what else. All right, so this is we've gone through all of this as far as I remember. Let's see, tips for choosing quality files. All right. So it is recommended to use files on each client or have a client file. So some nail bars, or some we used to sell each client a all the files they would need. So say 4 files or whatever, and we would have it in a bag with their name on it. And when they came to the salon, we would make them buy their own files. We would sterilize them after they'd left, put them back in their packet, and we would use that for when they came again, so they had their own files. So it's another idea that one can do. Your clients then pay for their own files, and those files are used for their fingers only. All right. This is a safe practice that you can offer your clients. Wash files with a brush to remove the dust, and then sterilize hands and wash them. Don't submerge them into water, exactly what I said. Run water over the nail with the soap, the nail brush. Once it's dried, you can place it into a UV sterilizing unit in a bag with your client's name on it. So that's actually a very, very nice thing to do. And try and purchase all washable files. A surface of a file only needs to stay wet for 10 minutes to kill any bacteria. So that's important. The surface of the file Only needs to stay wet for 10 minutes to kill any bacteria. Okay, so I hope you're getting some more little nuggets today. Let's see our next presentation. Use a light touch when finishing. Let me see if our little demo here is getting dry here. I'll show you just now. So use a light touch in performing all phases of finishing will protect the client's natural nail from discomfort. Now, another thing that I noticed, when I did nails as well, is that if you do happen to have any lifting, and it's important to get rid of that lifting because you don't want any microscopic fibers or any dirt, or we call them hohos, to go in there and create a fungus. So it's very important to remove that. And in the olden days, they used to use a nail clipper and clip it away, which is really not great because you'll end up, sort of taking layers of the natural client's nails off. And you don't want to do that. And also, if it's lifting and you'll end up filing on that area, you could file a ridge in the actual nail. So it's it's very important that you blend out the entire nail to get to that lifting bit, because if you're just going to go for that lifting bit, you are going to create damage. So you need to blend out the entire nail to get to it without damaging the natural nail. I hope that makes sense. You'll see when you start practicing, start doing your own nails as well, and then you can see with your own nails. And it's also great because you can, sort of look at your nails and study your nails and study the shape. And it's great training for you as well to do your own hands. All right. So here we are. We hold the file, a third of the file. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to hold the file with firm strokes. Use the base of your thumb as a guide to glide against while filing. Avoid filing into soft tissue and damaging your client's natural nail. Avoid filing too much in one area, as this causes a heat spike or friction. Avoid filing across the nail plate excessively, as this could dislodge the nail system and lead to onycholysis. So what is onycholysis? Onycholysis is when the nail bed lifts off, when the natural nail lifts off the nail bed, so the two get unattached and dislodged. So you don't want that. You don't want to file excessively on the natural nail. All right, so let's have a look at this. I hope this is dry. Let's have a look at our little finger here. I'm going to just put the light on again and autofocus. Let me make him bigger. Okay. So now how do we test if our acrylic is dry or not? So you would take your brush, and if it makes a clicking sound, then you know it's dry. So that, I don't know if it's the plastic or just it doesn't feel that dry to me. Let's see. All right, if you're not sure, a little trick that just helps speed up the monomer and the polymer is just add a bit of oil to the curing product, and that helps to sort of speed up the curing of the product. So we're just playing it safe because it's hard for me to tell on this plastic finger whether, and it's a very cold day today. So let's see now if it's, that sounds kind of better. All right. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to remove some of them. I'm going to take a lint-free wipe. I don't know if you can see here. We're just going to spray our isopropyl alcohol, and I'm going to wipe the actual nail. All right, so now I'm using a 120 by 240 grit file, and as you can see, there's hardly any work that needs to be done working with the zones. So what I would do is, if you can see, I'm lining up my file. Let's see if I show you. So I'm holding the file, and if you can see, my hand is like that. Okay, so I'm holding the file straight parallel down the side, and we go down the one side, and what I do to the one side, I've got to do to the other side. Okay, right, I'm going to nip the corners. What I do to one side, I do to the other side when you are shaping the nail. All right, so now remember the most important thing when designing the nail was we wanted thinner over the free edge, okay? We wanted thicker where the apex is, and we wanted thinner around the cuticle area. Shame, don't look at my hands. My hands have been through the walls. Okay, so what you need to do is you will take your file. Can you see I'm holding it towards the one end of the file? All right, so that I've got movement, like that, movement to work on the nail. All right, so I'm holding it towards the end of that file. So we've got movement. All right, so now I'm going to support that finger with my hand. I'm going to hold it. I've got my file like this, all right, and I'm going to gently, in circular motions, file around that cuticle area just to make sure, and don't nick the client, make sure you don't touch the skin, around that cuticle area just to make sure that it's all flush, okay, and you will kind of see where there's highs and lows, all right, so I'm going to just buff it very lightly, and I'm buffing it towards the free edge because we want the free edge to be thinner and the cuticle area, the base of the nail, okay, it needs to be the thicker part of the nail, so that we're not worried about. Okay, so we want the side walls must be held and flush, side walls flush, alright, and then my favorite white block file. You just want to smooth that out. Hard to see with the one color, but let me show you. I'll probably put a top coat on it and you can see. So I'm smoothing that out. Remember, attention to detail. The least amount of work, the more time you're going to have to perfect it. So we have a look. Always feel your work to see if it's smooth. Check down the barrel on the sides. Make sure it goes round. You want it to go round and round over the C curve. Let's have a look. Make sure your free edge is nice. So your finishing is going to be one of the most important things. And I mean, it really doesn't look like, and I'm going to just put a top coat on so that you can see. It still looks very natural and it's acrylic. Very hard to tell the difference, so that's how it should be. You should be able to apply your gels and your acrylics, that if you had to have one hand with acrylic and one hand with gel, they must look the same. Okay, so this is, you can see slightly underneath there, you can see, I don't know if you can see properly, but you can see that that is now, we could actually, do you see that? We actually needed to always check your sides, you see? I'm going to show you something. Can you see the side? I stopped there. You need to carry on. When you place your top coat, make sure you go all the way around and you turn the finger to the side and make sure you do the sides. Okay. Always check before you put it in the UV lamp. It's always important to check that. So now this nail has been, I'm going to just put this in the UV lamp and let it cure. Okay, and then let's have a look at our next slide. Wait a moment, I have to take that off. Okay, So let's have a look at the next slide. Um, Wait a moment. Okay. So this is to do with the round motions. Hold on, I'm getting it all confused. Okay. Use rounded motions when finishing off. All right, you've got to use rounded motions when finishing off. When I used my file, I held it on the one end, not in the middle, it would get in the way. You hold it on one end so that you've got movement with the file. Okay. So you finish it off lightly, roll the fingers from side to side. So when you're holding the client's hand, you're going to roll the finger from side to side as you file down. Move the buffer in rounded motions to allow the curve versus flat pressure, which will cause flat spots on the nail. Do on one side what you do to the other. That's exactly what I explained now. So I just want to show you with a little drawing, just to give you an idea. So if we look at I'm just going to do it on here, a fingernail. Here's a fingernail. Okay. Here's a little moon. Here's our finger. Don't know if you can see that. Okay. So when we are filing, we want to make sure that the free edge is thin and that you've got a nice even C curve. All right. And you want to make sure that the sides are flush. All right. Sides are all flush and the cuticle is all flush. So in other words, there will almost be a big circle in the middle that you leave higher. Do you see that? You will be blending all that and not touching too much of that. That is how you're going to finish that nail off properly. Okay, so let's continue. Let's see if we still got another. Let's see, here we go. Let me move me around. Whoopsie. Okay. So remember, flat pressure is not a good thing to have on the actual nail itself. All right. So let's have a look at our nail that we did. Let's have a look here. There we go. Can you see? This is our acrylic nail. We've done a thin application, so we filed with our brush and not with our file. So I'm going to need you guys to practice, 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 and just perfect your technique. And that is the most important thing. Let me just make me bigger. All right. Okay, so if there's any other content you want me to make for you, please let me know. I know our next modules are coming up. Let me just see which ones we have still to do. Let me get out of that. So today we were on module 6. So we've got module 7. We are still going to be doing a full. We're going to be doing a reverse French. And we are going to be doing troubleshooting. So all problems that could arise while you're doing the nails. So we're going to go through that as well. And then if there's anything you guys want me to do, please just DM me, let me know, and I will make those videos especially for you. So happy practicing, and don't forget to hit that subscription button so that I can keep the content coming. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now. Bye.